Hello, my grots and gits. Welcome back to Happy Corrupted Wargaming. I'm super excited to have you here. Today, we're talking about one of my favorite freaking units, which I've been harping about all over the place, and everyone's calling me crazy. It is the Deff Koptas. I brought these guys to my recent GT, and they did freaking awesome. So if you want to hear about that recap, you can check out the video. It'll be posted somewhere. I don't know. Anyway, so today I'm going to be going through the in-depth tactics of how to actually utilize these guys and make sure that they rock in your games the same way they rock in my games. If you like this information, then you should hop on over to the members-only side of my Discord, Happy Corrupted Wargaming Discord. In the members-only section, what we do is I'll go over advanced tactics like this way before I get the videos out on them. And I'll go over list reviews. We do all sorts of stuff for the members because I appreciate it when you support me, so I help support you more. Of course, we do have free membership or free access to our Discord as well, but that's the free section. And it's I'm definitely involved there as well, so we love having everyone join up. But it's a little bit less involved in the members-only section. So hop on over there to support me, and I'll continue to support you. Anyway, the Deff Koptas. Let's learn about the Deff Koptas. First off, we got to figure out why am I bringing Deff Koptas? So what I wanted to do is I wanted to identify some of our weaknesses that we have as orcs. And honestly, there's not many because orcs are pretty dang good right now. It's really weird when I'm looking at the win rates because according to StatCheck, when you look at the veteran win rates, it's actually pretty low for orcs. I'm tempted to think that's just because a lot of your veteran and better players are moving on to, say, your Votan or your Tau or some other things. But orcs, they have a good win rate overall. So it's just a little bit strange that at the higher level, you tend to see less win rates for the orcs. But anyway, I think they're pretty freaking good right now. I'm loving them. I'm not going anywhere. So one of the main weaknesses that we do, however, have as orcs is we have a general lack of AP. We've got tons of AP1. It's all over the place. Everything has freaking AP1. Not much AP2. As a matter of fact, AP2 is basically restricted to our knobs. You do have a few other options of AP2 out there as well. Like, for example, your Death Dreads and Killicons are AP2, but you're probably not taking either one of those units because they're not good. Although Death Dreads are close to good. One more points cuts, and I think Death Dreads will be actually really, really nice. You get AP2 on your Squigosaurs, like, come on, that's not real. I mean, that's one model in your army. So basically, we have very, very little AP2. And essentially 0 AP3 unless you count the kill saw, which you're probably not taking kill saws because kill saws suck. All right, then we have lack of damage 3. So we've got a lot of damage 2. We've got tons of damage 1, but we have very few sources of damage 3. Once again, it's just that Death Dread and Killicons, which they both kind of suck. So you're probably not going to see them very much. Outside of that, it's really just your characters. Mazrog is damage 3. And then your rocket launches. So rocket launchers and shooting can be damage 3, so that's good. Then we have a general crappy shooting in general. Obviously, your flash kits are accepted because flash kits are freaking great. I think I have been converted. I think they're making it into my tournament list that I'm bringing to the Tactical Tortoise team tournament. And I'll be going over that in a separate video as well. And then we typically end up in this weird place where we have an awkward amount of points left over after list creation because of the cost of our enhancements, the cost of all of our units. We tend to end up with an awkward 30 points left over that we can't really use. There's ways around that, of course, but it tends to happen. So I would say those are generally the main weaknesses of us. Our toughness is pretty high. Our armor is not nearly as bad as it used to be, especially when you can stack it with cover, which is very easy in this edition. So overall, those are the main weaknesses that I think we have. And what are our strengths? Well, we got very high toughness, we've got high speed, we've got buckets of attacks, we've got easy secondaries, and good access to mortals, bomb squeeze, grenades, tank shots, all of those things. So what does all this mean for Deff Koptas? Well, let's talk about the Deff Koptas. Well, we already identified our weaknesses. AP, shooting, stuff like that. Well, what do Deff Koptas have? They've got pretty reasonable shooting. And yes, I know everyone's saying, it's like, oh no, orc shooting sucks, it hits on 5s. Yeah, but what you're forgetting is that Deff Koptas are twin-linked. Twin-linked shooting is much better than not twin-linked shooting. So, and I'll go through the math on it in a little bit. But they have a twin-linked rocket launcher. So they have actually reasonable shooting. And I'm going to go through the full profile in just a moment, so just bear with me here. They've got great access to mortals. Between having the grenade stratagem keyword, so 1 CP, they get to roll 6 dice, each 4 up as a mortal. So on average, they're going to do 3 mortals with that. They can always tank shock. And don't get me wrong, tank shock's not great on them because they're only strength 5 in melee. But in the wild, they'll be at strength 6, so that you can get 1 to 2 mortals fairly reliably on that one. And then they also have Death from Above, which is their unit ability. So if they move over an enemy unit in the movement phase with a normal move, you can roll a d6 for each model in the unit. Unfortunately, it's models in the Deff Koptas unit, not models in the enemy unit. So you could do a maximum of 3 mortals there. So they actually do have the ability to potentially drop, like, call it 3 plus 2 plus 1 or 2. So you can drop 6 to 7 mortals fairly reliably without shooting or fighting at all. For a 100-point unit, that's pretty impressive, actually. They are cheap. They're only 100 points. So they really do a great job of filling that awkward points vacuum that orcs tend to fall into. And they're a very durable, cheap secondary scoring unit. Unlike Storm Boys, one of the things that Storm Boys do is Storm Boys are 65 points, and they can drop down to investigate signals, blah, blah, blah. But in all reality, anything that overwatches them is going to kill half the squad. Anything that fires them, even if it's just like intercessors, even if it's just an intercessor squad that shoots a unit of Storm Boys, they're going to kill 3, even 4 models in it. And that's really bad, because then your unit is just dead. If a unit of intercessors shoots Deff Koptas are going to giggle at them, and they're not going to care at all. So for an extra, 35 points, what ends up happening is you end up with this secondary unit that actually does have threatening shooting, that actually does have threatening melee, that actually does have really good stratagem support, that is T6, 4 wounds, 4 up armor save. It's going to be 3 up because of cover. And that intercessor squad is going to do 0 to them. So what your enemy is going to have to end up doing is they're going to have to actually dedicate real shooting into the Deff Koptas. And that is a problem for your enemy, because your enemy wants to dedicate real shooting into your trucks, into your Mazrogs, into everything else. They don't want to put it into the Deff Koptas. So what I found is many, many times they actually just don't bother with the Deff Koptas, which gets the Deff Koptas 3, 4 activations in a game, which makes them triple, quadruple their value. And if they do put real shooting into the Deff Koptas, boom, suddenly the rest of your army is moving on up. It's a great distraction piece that's not quite threatening to really get your opponent to really want to put anything into them, but it's just threatening enough that if they don't put anything into them, it can really cause them problems. So I love this. Not to mention, they have a lot of pretty good AP0 melee, so they're just going to clear screens. Cruit Hounds, freaking Guardsmen, whatever. They're going to clear your screens pretty damn easily. So let's check out their profile. So we've got our Studious Orc. He's going to tell us the profile here. We are D3 Blast, Ballistic Skill 5, Strength 9, AP 2, Damage 3. That is twin freaking linked. Guys, I cannot harp how important the twin linked is here. If the Deff Koptas didn't have twin linked, I would not be running them. I would likely not be running them. Let's clarify. But twin linked makes them valuable. It doesn't make them an amazing value, but it does make them valuable. I always take Copter Rockets. I'll pretty much never ever take a custom Mega Blasta. The custom Mega Blasta is still AP2. It's still Strength 9. It's still hitting on 5s. And it's hazardous D6 damage, and it's not twin linked. So you're basically not going to do anything with custom Mega Blasta, because even if you do get through it all, you're going to roll a 1 for the damage and do absolutely nothing. And then you're going to roll a 1 on your hazardous test and just take 3 wounds for no reason. I don't like the custom Mega Blasta on the Koptas. I love the Copter Rockets. That twin linked is huge, and the flat, reliable 3 damage, which we just don't have throughout the rest of the army. Then in melee, we're at Weapon Skill 3, 6 attacks, Strength 5, AP 0, Damage 1. So these guys are on the WA phase just going to be wounding all of your T3 models on 2s, which is a really big deal. Then we have T6 for their defensive profile, 4 wounds, 4 armor save, and a 6 up invuln because of the replacement for Ramshackle. So this is a body that's going to be moving 12 inches. So they actually are quite fast, which is a really, really good thing, because, I mean, we kind of live or die by speed, right? Like, you need speed as orcs. So they're fast. They shoot relatively hard for their points cost. They have really good melee for their points cost. Of course, you're not going to be running the melee into things like Terminators. That would be kind of a silly decision. But that is what you have. And don't forget, guys, they're vehicles. So if they do get bogged down in melee, they're shooting their rockets out of melee. They can do cleanse actions. They have lots and lots of options. Now, the job is not to kill your enemy with the rockets. That is not their primary job. This is where everyone's going wrong. They're thinking about the Deff Koptas unit as a primary, hey, I'm going to slaughter Terminators with them. Error. That is not why you take Koptas. That is a really nice secondary bonus. These guys are best used as a secondary unit, like we were saying. They're going to laugh at any pittance of shooting that goes at them. Your enemy has to put real firepower into these guys, which your enemy does not want to do that. They've got other things that they need to be killing than your Deff Koptas. This is going to cause the over and under commitment, which we already spoke about. But then what happens is that they end up doing a surprising amount of bonus damage into units that typically have no fear of orcs. You've got your Terminators and your Custodes. They have zero fear of orcs at range. So they typically just deploy really on the line. I can go wherever I want because you can't hurt me in shooting. But now Deff Koptas can fairly reliably pick up 1 to 2 Custodes or 1 to 2 Terminators every single time they activate, which is a big freaking deal. So these Deff Koptas end up being exceptionally flexible on the state of the board because you can CP dump things like we spoke about. We can tank shock, we can grenades, we can death from above, so we can get a lot of mortals out. So units that typically are not afraid of them kind of need to be afraid of them. What if you have an incarn that's only on 5 wounds left? Your Deff Koptas can just straight up kill it. Like, just bye. That's kind of important to know. And then they also get the action. Since they're vehicles, they get to do their secondaries while they're engaged in melee, all that stuff. So let's talk about their damage, though. Like, what happens with their damage? I'm going to do off of a 5-man Custodian blob with 3 Deff Koptas. By the way, I'm never taking them in units of 6. I'm always taking them in units of 3. I'm probably only taking 1 unit of 3. It's possible that with some finagling, I might end up taking 2 units of 3 because I did play with that a few times, and I do like it. I don't feel like I have 200 points to spare in my army, but I definitely have 100 points to spare in my army. So let's talk about what their shooting actually does do. So we're shooting a 5-man unit of Custodians. So we're going to have 9 shots on average because it's D3 shots. That's going to be 2 shots each plus 1 for blast. So it's going to have 9 shots. That's going to give you 3 hits on average. And then with twin linked, you're going to get 2 to 3 wounds on average because you're wounding on 3s and you get to reroll failed wound rolls. So that's going to give you 2 to 3 wounds on average. So let's assume that we get 3 wounds through. Your opponent's probably going to fail 1 save. Maybe they fail 2 because they roll a little bit bad. Well, if they fail 1 save, you've already scored 50. You've already killed 50 points with your 100-point unit. That is a PPP of 2, which is a good PPP. If they kill 2 Custodes, they've already made up their points back. Done. No problem. Terminators are just going to be anywhere between 35 and 70 if you're going into Terminators. So this is actually a very, very good trading value. But what you're forgetting is that this is bonus value because the value of the Koptas is to actually go hunting those little weak, super annoying MSU units that you don't want to put anything real into. Their value is that they're going to be grenading and tank shock, or you're probably not. Let's be honest, you're not typically going to tank shock, although occasionally a tank shock can be exceptionally valuable, like it was in my last game of the tournament this weekend, where I ended up killing the Hive Tyrant with a tank shock from Deff Koptas. It was freaking awesome. So this is where what we're looking at, guys. This unit is 100 points. They're going to clear any screen unit. They have the ability to pop out mortals like it's no one's business. They have pretty reasonable shooting that actually forces your enemy, if they're Custodes or say they're Black Templars or whatever, it actually forces these people to deploy a little bit more defensively than they want to. And that little bit more defensively than they want to can be completely game-changing. These Deff Koptas in the meantime are going to be holding primary. They're going to be scoring cleanse. They're going to be doing investigate. They're going to be all over the freaking place. And for 100 points, the value is extreme. Now, I wanted to go on to the TTS view and kind of show you how I would like to deploy them. But for some reason, my computer is being a little wonky and TTS is not really working for me right now, which is a little unfortunate. I might end up having to cancel my stream tonight, sadly. So that is one thing about Deff Koptas, which is really, really nice. So how do I deploy them? Let's talk about it. I should have made a slide for this. I think I got ahead of myself. Sorry about that. Let's talk about deployments. They can deep strike, or they can start on board. This is typically one of the units that I start on board, actually. The reason why, it does depend on the army. If I'm going against someone like Imperial Guard, okay, I'm starting these guys in deep strike. If I'm going up against someone like Monster Nids, okay, I'm starting these guys in deep strike. But if I'm going against Space Marines, if I'm going against Tau, if I'm going against Votan, I'm starting these guys on the board because too often these armies know for a fact that they don't have to worry about orc shooting. So what's going to happen is the Hearthguard are going to step out a little too early, or your Crisis Blob is going for the Tau is going to let themselves be seen. Well, when Deff Koptas shoot into them, they're going to kill one of those crisis suits, which is actually a really big deal. You have lots of situations like this where they're going to want to step out. So I have my Deff Koptas there. Losing 2 custodians to 1 Deff Kopta activation can be game changing for the custodes, because that is a massive threat reduction right there. It is such a big deal. They cannot afford to lose 2 custodians to 1 unit of Deff Koptas, but all too often they do. Now, of course, Deff Koptas can whiff, but remember, my Deff Koptas' purpose is to be get in the corner, get investigate signals. Their purpose is to be, hey, I'm going to go clear that screen. Boom. Their purpose is not to kill. It's just the fact that they can kill that forces your opponent to play differently. So I typically like to start my guys on the board, but there are certain matchups that I deep strike in. Let me just go through this one more time. Deep striking, I'm probably going to be deep striking against things like Guard, Monster Mash, things that the Deff Koptas aren't going to be really threatening to at all. You're just not going to really need them on the board, or you're going to want to deep strike them instead. I'm going to start on the board against things that are going to be more aggressive to me and be not worrying about my shooting typically. So there's going to be your Marines, your Custodes, even like your World Eaters, right? Things like that. Then that's how the deployment is going to go. So guys, these are Deff Koptas. They're 100 freaking points. It's super easy. The way I'm running them right now is I'm just running 1 unit of Storm Boys and 1 unit of Deff Koptas. 1 unit of Storm Boys is kind of my throwaway unit that can just go do investigate signals once and then they'll die. My Deff Koptas are going to be basically what this entire video was freaking about. So I love Deff Koptas. I think they're awesome. I want you to give them a try. I want you to give me your experiences with them and let me know how you like them. Type down in the comments if you have been using them. Type down in the comments if you're thinking about using them. If you think they suck, no problems. You're just wrong. That's all right. So, ladies and gentlemen, Grots and Gits, this was my Deff Koptas. This is how I'm utilizing them. This is why I'm utilizing them. And I hope you give them a try. If you like the work I'm doing, go ahead and drop me a like and a subscription. Or if you want to take it a step further, I have a $4 tier on my Discord where you can join my members only Discord, where I interact a lot more. I definitely interact in the free area of Discord as well, but I like to give special attention to those of you who are giving special support to me. So I appreciate that. If you want to take your game to the next level, you can also join the Adeptus Crumpstodes and sign up for coaching. I am offering coaching services, and actually some of the guys who are going through it right now are getting some pretty cool freaking results. So hopefully if you want coaching, feel free to reach out for that. You guys can all contact me on Discord. I'm Johnny the Sand there. And until next time, everybody, let's get some good crumping in. All right, bye-bye.